معانا عمر جاد من ديل تكنولوجيز هيكلمنا اكتر واكتر عن ال 5 جي 5 جي ويكلمنا اكتر برضو عن البروسيس في ديل. وي ار اول ايرز يا عمر دلوقتي اتفضل.
Hello, thank you very much, Ahmed. Yes, hello everyone, and it's me, Omar Gad, and I'm a senior engineer working at Dell. Today, I will give you a brief presentation about some of the things we work at Dell. In my team, especially, we work in 5G, which is quite new, exciting technology. And I'll give a brief introduction about some high-level architecture as to why أصلاً 5G was made وحبة الموtivations in terms of the architecture بتاعها هيبقى عامل ازاي. So just one second, let me share my screen. Excellent. So can you see my screen now? Okay, one second, let me just swap that view. All right, so so as I was saying, and we're going to talk briefly about 5G. It's going to be and هتكلم على give you introduction and take you through a type of a journey أو رحلة to 5G and how we reached here, how we got there. فأنا عارف إنه everyone knows about the high speeds of 5G وكده، بس there's a lot of things under the hood اتغيرت برضو. It's not just إن إحنا we increase the speed of the bandwidth and now you can download things faster وكل الكلام ده، بس there's a lot more going on في الاركتكتشر نفسه اتغير. Before we start, there's a few acronyms I'm going to go through that might pop up in the presentation, just so everyone can kind of understand what's being said. So there's COTS, which is commercial off-the-shelf, which is basically some generic type of hardware مش حاجة proprietary أو حاجة حد واحد بيصنعها، بس ممكن يبقى أي حد ممكن يصنعها. CU, centralized unit. CUPS, control plane user plane separation. DU, distributed unit. NFV, network function virtualization. ORAN, open radio access network. RAN, radio access network. RIC, RAN intelligent controller. RU, radio unit. SDN, software defined networking. Right, تمام. So first we start with the traditional RAN. So traditional RAN, I'm talking about 2G, 3G, 4G type of RAN. So basically في الأول it was all one big block, one big piece. It then separated the two pieces, the baseband unit with RRU, remote radio unit. Or basically the whole issue with this is in كل حاجة was still proprietary. So the hardware والsoftware it's all proprietary ومفيش غير one or two or three main telco companies that kind of provide all of this hardware and software لكل حد. فلما بيجي مثلا شركة mobile network operator زي Vodafone or Orange اتصالات to actually purchase حاجة purchase some sort of RAN من حد, they are kind of locked in for one using one vendor. If you buy from one specific vendor خلاص it's very difficult to change عشان you can't just remove one piece مثلا and put another piece from another vendor عشان the communication with software and hardware is all proprietary. They won't be able to talk with each other. مش عارفين يشتغلوا مع بعض. فطبعا it was a big issue. فلو محتاج تغير كل الران بتاعك you'd have to actually تروح كل base station physically كل التاورز الكبيرة دي وتشيلهم وتحط مكانهم تانيين from another vendor. فطبعا that's very costly and there's no way إن في حد هيعمل كده. فبيبقى في some sort of vendor lock-in which might reduce the amount of competition. لو خلاص already في vendor using this specific customer using this specific vendor, it's very difficult from them to move away. It doesn't give much flexibility للmobile network operators. But طبعا we started to see more of a shift, especially with 4G where some of these 5G architectural improvements were applied, but they're fully applied in the shift in 5G. So things like moving away from the يعني dedicating standalone network elements، فمش كل حاجه هتبقى separated قوي، عايزين نجيب حاجات اكتر toward the cloud. فنقدر ان احنا لو في تغييره update او حاجه محتاجه تتصلح it's easier to fix rather than مثلا sending someone out يروح اون سايت يصلح كل انتنه يعدي عليها في you know across the country. يعني it's going to be very difficult, very costly كمان. We're trying to move things away. يعني كل حاجه نقدر نخليها مش dedicated ونحطها centralized شويه، نقدر ان احنا يعني it will be very يعني it'll help us reduce cost, to help the mobile network operators and so on to reduce cost. Incorporating network function virtualization or SDN, which is basically بقى برضه virtualizing things, making things you know يعني مثلا making السوفت نفسه يقدر يرن على اي هاردوير، فمش محتاج ان انت مثلا يعني مثلا ممكن خلاص السوفت وير proprietary بس الهاردوير نفسه الانتنه السيرفرز الماشينز نفسها ممكن تبقى تشتريها من اي حد، فهي at least ايه you'd be able to save some cost على الهاردوير مثلا، بس versus مثلا having to buy كل حاجه من شخص واحد. Wow, making it service-based microservices, يعني as we'll see in the few slides, we're making it more faster, more reliable compared to older generations. فطبعا speed and reliability ده مش بس bandwidth, بس it's also in terms of repairing and updating. So obviously, if things are more centralized, if things are hardware agnostic, you'd be able to update things much quicker and fix things much quicker. NFV or SDN kind of really explained يعني kind of what they are and what they work for, but it's about having an architecture that minimizes the hardware constraints by abstraction. You'd be able to virtualize run the software بتاعك in a VM. The VM that can be running on any sort of generic hardware that تشتري من أي حد. You're not reliant on one specific vendor. تمام. Same thing يعني with هو نفس الحاجة برضو يعني you know in 4G kind of حب الحاجات دي يعني started to show. Even يعني here you can see in مثلا after the traditional RAN كان في حاجة اسمها virtualized RAN, which is kind of like a middle step between where we, and this is kind of where we are now versus where we want to be and where we are heading to. يعني in 4G at least يعني كان في you have a custom of a commercial off the shelf server أو يعني hardware وعندك proprietary software and with virtualized functions running عليه. like I explained يعني في الحتة اللي هي BBU baseband unit as you can see on the slide, that area now has a يعني some hardware that you can buy from anywhere, hardware buzz أو حاجة أو مثلا it's not working as well as أنت مثلا as you want as a mobile network operator, you can buy from another vendor مثلا that's مثلا focusing on servers that's very good at developing servers and this type of hardware. Dell happens to be one of them. Yani Dell is very well known in their server business. That's actually very very proudly representing yani that side of the business. And of course however المشكلة in الانترفيسز ما بين الهاردwares, especially when it comes to the software اللي running عليه يعني it's still proprietary. فلسه it's not open. ما تقدرش ان انت تغير مثلا البي بي يو ويشتغل مع الار ار يو اللي موجود. You still have to تشتري السوفت وير نفسه من the same vendor, من نفس الفندر. ما ينفعش تشتري بقى لسه ايه مثلا انتنا من او ار يو من حته وبي بي يو سوفت وير من حته ثانيه. بس الهاردوير بتاع البي بي يو at least you can buy it from everywhere. فهي slowly opening up الموضوع. Then يعني this is where Open RAN comes in. Open RAN الفوكس بتاعه is ان احنا disaggregate الهاردوير and the software. فباسically دلوقتي بقى كل حاجه commercial off the shelf in terms of hardware خلاص. دلوقتي they've defined the interfaces كلها بقت open. فاللي هو communication وال messaging protocols ما بين the software from the different parts of the RAN نفسها بقت open وبقت defined خلاص and it's public. But now it opened actually the ability for a lot of new competitors and new competition to kind of start getting into the telco game and bringing their own spin on it. This is actually what made Dell get into 5G, the 5G business. Dell already has a very good customer base, especially, and good reputation when it comes to their server business and their virtualization business. And basically that they're leveraging that to actually get into 5G. طبعا it starts with just selling the hardware مثلا, and then it will build up hopefully to deploying their whole system. Now that all the the interfaces are open, you'll be able to actually research and actually implement your own design. And of course, with a very strong server business, you'd be able to leverage that as مثلا an edge or a positive trait or strength to help you push forward in that type of business. That's basically what Open RAN is. It's about disaggregating hardware and software, making sure that you can do both, regardless of who you're working with. فيو can now mobile network operators زي فودافون وأورنج واتصالات هيقدروا إن هم ياخدوا مثلا السيرفر من حته والسوفت وير من حته ثانيه والانتنه من حته والسوفت وير اللي بيرن على الانتنه والريموت راديو يونت من حته. You be able ان to kind of customize الحاجه على حسب مين شاطر في ايه. to kind of illustrate الموضوع, here's an analogy and I love يعني talking about and explaining this kind of concept. It's kind of like in video games. زمان خالص ما كانش ينفع تلعب غير تروح الاركيد, والاركيد عندك المشين دي زي مثلا بتاعت باك مان اهي على الشمال, and that's ده كل اللي تقدر تلعبه. هي المشين دي بترن باك مان بس, ما تقدرش ترن اي حاجه ثانيه. if you have a proprietary piece of hardware running على proprietary piece of software, انت ما تقدرش تغير اي حاجه. لو عايز تشتري عايز تلعب لعبه ثانيه هتضطر تشتري سيستم كامل بالهاردوير بتاعها بالسوفت وير بتاعها كده عشان ترن مثلا سوبر ماريو ولا اي حاجه ثانيه عايز تلعبها. فطبعا this is kind of زي التراديشنال. وبعدين في بقى الجيم بوي مثلا where انت عندك برضه proprietary hardware, بس تقدر ان انت دلوقتي you kind of separated او virtualized حاجه في النص which is الجيم كارتريدج. فدلوقتي ان انت عندك proprietary hardware ما تقدرش تستغنى عنه. يعني لو عايز تلعب العاب نينتندو هتضطر تشتري الجيم بوي, بس دلوقتي ممكن تلعب اكتر من لعبه على حسب الكارتريدج اللي عندك. فتقدر تبدل الكارتريدج بكارتريدج ثانيه عليها سوفت وير ثاني. بس اوف كورس الانترفيس نفسه اللي بيشغل اللعبه اللي هو طبعا حته الكارتريدج اللي بيكوميونيكيت مع الجيم بوي دي لسه proprietary, مش اي حد يقدر يغير فيها. It's still unknown, it's not open. And then of course we move مثلا towards Android مثلا. Android phones دلوقتي عندك open operating system based على Linux, Linux kernel, عندك ال SDK, كل حاجة is open and you can use. عندك الاب ستور بقى كل حاجة عليه. You don't need to change أي حاجة. أنت عندك ممكن if you have all the apps you want to change phones, مفيش مشكلة. مثلا from Huawei to Google Pixel to Samsung, لأي حاجة أنت عايزها كل الابس بتاعتك كل السوفت وير بتاعك كل الحاجة هتبقى موجودة. you be able it's kind of open. فطبعا this type of openness gives the customer اللي هو احنا طبعا if we own the phones او the mobile network operators if they're the ones buying the RAN, ان هم they gives them the power. فطبعا لازم it creates competition. فلازم دلوقتي مثلا هتشوف ان اندرويد وورلد عندك بقى التليفونات اللي بتقفل اللي هو الفولد, وعندك ال 100 times zoom, where you have a lot of different types of technologies كده اللي طالعه to kind of give an edge لكل شركه to kind of catch your eye. عشان obviously يعني if they don't innovate ما هو كل حد زي كله, فخلاص اشتري ارخص واحد خلاص. بس لا, it's not about that. It's about برضه فلازم يلاقوا different ways to kind of differentiate themselves, and that's kind of what's going to happen hopefully in this Open RAN thing being open. It'll promote diversity and competition, and it'll hopefully see very interesting things happening with mobile network operators. دي بقى طبعا يعني going from cartoony analogy to more يعني functional architecture based one. It's going زي from a monolithic application to a virtualized monolithic application where you can move حاجات من الستاك تغيرها hot swappable. وبعدين طبعا a fully microservice composed application. This is where بقى having reliable servers and being able to manage microservices come in. طبعا these are the three main motivations for اللي انا اتكلمت عنهم for mobile network operators ان هم push حاجه زي open RAN. اللي هي economics, obviously things are going to be much cheaper, there's going to be better competition, you can hot swap things for vendor diversity, مش محتاج ان انت تستيك مع vendor معين. Will end user expectations, obviously يعني if something isn't met then يعني in terms of demands يعني خلاص you can easily skip this vendor or keep vendor تاني. But obviously if you're vendor locked it's too expensive to actually do that step. But now it's not. خلاص you can يعني with Open RAN you'll be able to خلاص switch out anything at any given moment. Another main motivation is إن طبعا الRAN نفسه اللي هو الأون-سايت stations يعني كلها يعني الابكيب بتاعها is actually 60% of the capex والopex اللي هو الcapital expenditure اللي هو الupfront cost والoperational expenses اللي هي المينتنس cost بتاع يعني all of the mobile network operators. This is it ran as 60% in terms of cost. But obviously دي كانت أكتر حتة كان محتاج إن هي يبقى فيها some sort of innovation in order to actually help reduce cost for these mobile network operators. Obviously هنا بقى so يعني an example of some cost that would be reduced is in sorry in updates and repairs زي ما أنا اتكلمت previously. فدلوقتي إن كل حاجة هتبقى أو يعني مش كل حاجة a lot of things هتبقى cloud based. فتبقى محتاج بقى very good back end. تقدر عايز تعمل update مش لازم إن أنت تودي شخص يروح يريبير أو يروح يحط الابديت بنفسه physically عند كل base station. دلوقتي ممكن the simple update to the cloud CIC, you can have a CI/CD pipeline which will instantly update كل حاجة remotely. فطبعا this saves a lot of cost and helps automate things in general. This is also an example of how much somewhere the mobile network operators, say Vodafone, Orange, Salat, would be able to reduce cost. I'll go through briefly a few more slides عن architecture نفسه split ازاي وايه الحاجات اللي على الكلاود وايه الحاجات اللي مش على الكلاود واللي محتاجه تبقى قريبه to kind of give you a bit more on the architecture, and then we'll stop for some questions. I mentioned إن في حاجة اسمها CU DU RU. دي بقى split functional split بتاعت الأوبن ران. فالCU هو السنترال يونت، فده اللي هيبقى على الكلاود. ففي الRRC والPDCP دول الحاجتين اللي جواهم. هم ايه بقى؟ الRRC ده عبارة عن الراديو ريسورس كنترول. This is responsible for configuring the coarse grain or policy related aspects. This is more about the control plane مش user plane. making sure that الشخص connected ولا did he drop latency بتاعته عاملة ازاي, kind of do these calculations يعني. PDCP, Packet Data Convergence Protocol, هو responsible for compressing and decompressing the IP headers. وبيسايفر بقى بيسايفر وديسايفر الانتجريتي بروتكشن. فلو مثلا الباكت اللي وصلت دي وصلت صح ولا corrupted, محتاج تريترانسميت, محتاج and it makes some sort of early forwarding decision على حسب خلاص الباكت دي كويسه محتاجه تروح فين بقى, where is its next step. It kind of makes an early decision, or maybe we need to move it to this cell هنا او الاي بي ده or wherever. These decisions, they're not really يعني latency intensive, so they could be grouped in more of the cloud. The distributed unit بقى is not in the cloud, but this is بقى more in, this actually has to be on site next to the radio unit. فده it has the RLC والماك وجزء من الفايل ده اللي هو الفيزيكال layer. ال RLC ده ال radio link control, ده اللي هو responsible for the segmentation and reassembly of transmitting and receiving the packets. فهو actually physically الانتنه receive the packet, it goes to the DU بقى remove the packet, remove the headers, بيشوف بقى ايه اللي محتاج يتحط فين لو مثلا the information is too big that comes in multiple packets, so you kind of rebuild بقى كل الباكيتس كلها to the actual data that's being received, and you pass it on to the next thing. ولو مثلا this is not where it's supposed to end up, you have to repackage it and then send it to its next location. This type of system وبقى you have to check acknowledgements او اللي هي جايه من اليوزر لو هو وصل له الداتا او ما وصلوش محتاج يريترانسميت كل الكلام ده. فكل الحاجات دي are very latency intensive, so you need to get data get this RLC very close to the antenna and can't really be on cloud عشان ممكن يحصل تأخير في latency which will reduce speeds. وطبعا في الماك اللي هو الميديا access control. This بقى is responsible for buffering والmultiplexing والdemultiplexing of segments. وده وalso ده اللي بيعمل كل الريل تايم scheduling decisions. هبعت لمين امتى. Obviously بقى الانتنه دي بتبقى connected to thousands of different mobile phones مثلا, فلازم يقرر scheduling when to transmit to each user. كل ده really needs to happen in real time, so all of these calculations and decisions. So this is actually where this is why this also in Mac محتاج ان هو يبقى في very close if not on site to الانتنه نفسها or where the users are. والفاي which جزء منه في ال RU اللي هو الراديو يونت, جزء منه في الدي يو, ده الكونكشن physical connection to the antenna نفسها. obviously that has to also be on site. This is responsible for the coding and modulation of the frequencies نفسها بقى اللي بتتبعت. So that's kind of a simplified version of the architecture or the functional splits and how they split up الحاجة اللي هتبقى على الكلاود والحاجة اللي هتبقى local. This is kind of برضو another illustration of this type of system. طبعا we have you don't have to have 5G knowledge in order to work on 5G دلوقتي. As you can see, there's a lot of different job openings, whether it's front end, whether it's back end. فعشان obviously كل الحاجات دي بالذات الحاجات بتاعت CU it's going to be more microservice based. فمحتاج ان حد بقى بيعرف يشتغل in microservices to be able to help scale them up and down. So you need to have good knowledge of microservices, it's not all just about okay, I need to have a telco type of knowledge in order to work in 5G or in telco anymore. خلاص بقت everything is shifting, the architecture is shifting in a way where there's more in demand of these type of already established skills, زي back end or front end engineers, control of CI/CD and whatnot in order to get the systems up and running. But that's pretty much it for the presentation. I hope it was useful. I hope اتعلمتوا حاجة أو got you curious شوية. And obviously at Dell we kind of work in all of things. Obviously في حاجات I didn't mention. And my team مثلا they handle a lot of AI applications for the RAN. فطبعا to be able to use machine learning and AI to help optimize الRAN نفسها. مثلا في حد عنده مشكلة في connection, نقدر reroute him. We detect this using machine learning early. ونقدر reroute them مثلا to another cell أو antenna أقرب مثلا أو اللي عليها الترافيك أقل. فنقدر نقلل congestion مثلا. A lot of interesting things يعني. ف data scientists are also in demand. It's not just يعني someone with perfect architectural knowledge of telecom. we can pause here ونشوف لو في أي أسئلة or any questions. شكرا يعني hopefully بقى you apply يعني خش على الويب سايت على Dell, look for jobs. هتلاقي there's a lot of different openings, different levels. دور على interns, you know, normal engineers, level 2, senior, كل حد يعني all different levels يعني we're looking for. يعني there's a lot of opportunity برضه ان انت to learn on the job. ويعني في برضه عشان كل حاجه دلوقتي open اللي هي ال 5G in terms of ال architecture والinfrastructure والinterfaces. ف everything's online. You get a chance to learn on the job if you're curious about الحاجه دي كلها طبعا برضه. So you don't have to be worried about not knowing much about the architecture. Any other questions? أي أسئلة تانية? If I would like to start the technical field, from where to start? And if مثلا you're not talking about university, if this is after university, obviously during university take some technical courses, programming. If you want to talk about something that isn't university, about that isn't university, you can learn about it in online. There's a lot of online boot camps or courses to start programming. The language نفسها that you start مش مهم. You can start in any language عشان هو كل concepts, كل programming concepts نفسها are the same across any language. They're transferable from across any language يعني. فلو بدأت Python أو C أو whatever, المهم بس إن you get some sort of course. مثلا تعمل some sort of side project أو project في البيت كده to kind of put on your CV مثلا if you're starting outside of university, to kind of help showcase and you understand the software عامل ازاي. It's either through university or if you're after university, there's a lot of online courses مفيدة تقدر تساعد to begin your journey into programming. أنا أصلا initially I'm an electric engineer, أنا مهندس كهرباء. But I made the shift towards more of software by taking the different software courses after university. It's not just about الناس اللي تاخد computer science. How can I join Dell as an accountant after graduation? Well, just check the job offerings. I'm not really sure about accountants, but I'm pretty sure there are job offerings on the website. Just go to the Dell website, search for jobs. There's a lot of filtering options. You have to select the country you want to be in. اختار مصر في مصر, and you'll be able to see كل الليستنجز الموجودة, whether it's HR, accounting, software engineering. there's a lot of different options من على الويب سايت نفسه. Okay, thank you very much شباب. I hope everyone had a good استفدتوا من السيشن دي, and have a wonderful rest of your day. يلا, good luck.
شكرا يا عمر مرة تانية, و thank you for this interesting session. أتمنى إن شاء الله بإذن الله تبقى موجود معنا في editions تانية بإذن الله, و it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, have a good day. شكرا. مع السلامة.
Thank you.